Chapter 51, Shocked by a Look. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As Tagahiro's words fell, Gamabunta and Gamatake also looked at Jiraiya, that eager look on his face. If he doesn't get a reasonable answer, may cause a backlash. Jiraiya woke up from his daze, glanced around, and said with a wry smile, "Can I say that I'm not the one who summoned you?" "It's not you." Gamabunta raised his eyebrows, exhaled a puff of smoke, and said, "Is it that Minato guy? Why didn't I see him?" In a contemporary era, there may be other people who have signed a contract with the Toad, but there are very few people who can really support the huge consumption of chakra and are qualified to summon their three giant toads. Apart from Jiraiya and Namake's Minato, they really couldn't think of anyone else. "It's him." Jiraiya looked at Chinyu and said with a wry smile, "Boy, you have to figure it out yourself. The baptism of a giant is already miserable. Now you can summon three at once, so you can take care of yourself." After saying these words, Jiraiya immediately started running away and quickly opened a safe distance. Yuzuki Shien and Uchiha Itachi also looked livid. However, facing these three toads that looked like hills, he still gritted his teeth and wanted to walk to Chinyu's side. "Stand back and leave this place to me." Chinyu looked up at Gamabunta and said, "It's our first time meeting you. I'm very happy to be able to enter into a psychic contract with you." "Humph, it turned out to be a mere brat. I thought he was the one who dared to summon us all at once." Gamabunta snorted coldly. "But don't think that after summoning us, you can just pat our butts and send us back." Gagahiro and Gagaken obviously followed Gagabunta's lead. Although they didn't say anything, their meaning was obvious. "Is there any solution?" Chinyu smiled even more. Of course he knows that the more powerful the psychic beast is, the more personality it has. Before they were tamed, they were all tattoos. "Humph, of course. As long as you defeat the three of us, it's over this time, otherwise you have to help us catch insects for a month." Gamabunta narrowed his eyes slightly. "When I thought about it, someone took the initiative to put those delicious bugs into my mouth. This life is the most beautiful. I like this solution too." Chinyu smiled warmly. Gamabunta was startled at first, and then met Chinyu's scarlet, blood-like eyes. 9 Magatama Sharingan. As soon as his blood moon-like eyes opened, Chinyu's whole aura changed drastically, and his huge pupil power rolled back like a frenzy. The expressions of the three of them changed dramatically. "It's the eyes of disaster that the great immortal mentioned. I didn't expect to encounter them here." Gamabunta's expression changed. "Be careful, this pupil technique is not easy." Gamabunta shouted violently, and when he reached for the dagger at his waist, he saw Chinyu move. No. It should be said that he saw Chinyu's eyes widening. Tsukuyomi. Using Tsukuyomi on three big toads at once was also very costly for Chinyu. Maybe it can only be limited to a short moment, but in this case of a strong showdown, everything is enough. Jiraiya and the others only saw a slight pause in the movements of Gamabunta and the others. The next moment, Chinyu's body was filled with lightning, and the ground instantly cracked. The whole person turned into a stream of light across the sky and the earth, and fell on Gamabunta's head in the blink of an eye. When the three big toads woke up, Chinyu was no longer there. "Are you looking for me?" "I'm on your head, Bunta." Chinyu smiled and patted Toad Bunta's head. The sudden scene made Gamabunta's face stiffen. However, under normal circumstances, he would go berserk. However, this time it did not dare to make a mistake. No matter it was Gamabunta, Gamatake, or even Gamahiro didn't take action again. They knew very well that they had fallen into the illusion just now. Since the opponent can get on their heads, this proves that they have the ability to kill them with one blow. In this case, the outcome is decided. "Boy, I didn't expect your skills to be very good. I'm convinced." Gamabunta withdrew his right hand for the knife, picked up the pipe and took a deep breath. "Forget it this time. The next time we are summoned, I hope it will be an emergency. We don't want to get together every time we come out. Chien, Guang, we're going back." After saying these words, Gamabunta and the other three turned into a white mist and disappeared out of thin air. So easy to solve it. Jiraiya was stunned on the spot. When I think about it, Jiraiya was bullied by a toad for the first time when he entered Miamu Mountain, especially the insect feast. In order to maintain freshness, it will squirm in the bowl. Thinking about this situation makes one's stomach feel a little restless. Chinyu fell in the air, watched Uchiha Itachi and Wazuki Shien rush to meet him, and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine." "Brother, was the Sharingan you just had?" Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but ask. In the eyes of others, the reason Uchiha Itachi is called a genius is because he opened the single Magatama Sharingan before he was 7 years old. It's always been an honor. However, when he saw the 3 psychic beasts facing him, Chinyu just glared for a moment and then directly pulled them into the illusion. This method turned his so-called single Magatama Sharingan into rubbish in an instant. This is the Mangekyo Sharingan. It is the limit of the Sharingan. Itachi, you will also have it in the future. Chinyu rubbed the god Itachi's head. It can be said that the Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo he currently possesses are all pupil techniques transformed by the system using Chinyu's thinking when they were at full level. It can be regarded as stealing Uchiha Itachi's pupil technique. Really? Itachi Uchiha showed a rare trace of innocence for his age. Chinyu patted his head and said, "Of course. It's getting late. You should go back first. Jiraiya and I still have something to talk about." After Yuzuki Shien and Uchiha Itachi glanced at Chinyu hesitantly, they finally turned and left. For a moment, only Chinyu and Jiraiya were left in the huge open space. "Boy, what you did just now was really great. Even I didn't expect that your pupil technique would be so powerful that it caused the 3 big toads of Empty Miamu to be directly affected by the illusion. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it." Jiraiya not the slightest bit on guard. Instead, I felt a little more relaxed. In his eyes, Chinyu could show his strength without any scruples in front of him. This is enough. Haha, these are all small tricks. Compared with your sage mode, they are still far behind. Chinyu laughed dryly, took out 2 bottles of wine from his backpack, and threw one to Jiraiya. Drinking wine makes it easier to talk. This is table etiquette. Chapter 52 Goals of Cooperation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiraiya caught the sake, looked hesitant, and sat down cross-legged first. "Boy, I didn't expect that you know so many things." Looking at Chinyu, who also took out a lot of dried meat snacks, etc., Jiraiya was no longer polite, raised his head and took a sip of sake, and said, "You didn't have the idea of psychic skills from the beginning. Is it the immortal mode?" Sage mode is one of the most powerful fighting methods after the collapse of Naruto's combat power in the later stages. Even Orochimaru has always been salivating. Chinyu once thought that Orochimaru had also searched for the location of Ryuchi Cave. I also wanted to get the immortal mode, but unfortunately I couldn't get the recognition. As for why Orochimaru knew the existence of Sage mode, he probably had a fight with Jiraiya, beaten by Sage mode. It's like Orochimaru wanted to get Itachi's Sharingan, but was instantly killed by a genjutsu. Instead, he did the same thing to Uchiha Sasuke. Absolutely. Chinyu didn't hide it and sat aside with a smile. This is a world for the strong. Whoever has the biggest fist can speak out. Are you right? Jiraiya couldn't help but was startled and said, "Didn't you say you wanted to be a salted fish? This seems to be a bit against your wishes." According to Chinyu's explanation, salted fish should lie in the sun, dry the front and then the back. In this world of power struggle, if you don't have absolute strength, it will be difficult to realize your wish of being a salted fish. Chinyu also took a sip of sake. "Don't worry, I will definitely get this fairy mode, but I don't like to use violence, so just let it happen. However, I advise you, don't stare at Orochimaru all the time when you have time. Remember to visit the Rain Ninja Village. That place will change the pattern of the entire ninja world." Chinyu thought of Yahiko and the others. According to the development in the original work, Danzo is about to take action against Akatsuki led by Yahiko. Once Yahiko is killed, Nagato will go berserk, and the nature and meaning of Akatsuki will undergo earth-shaking changes. Jiraiya couldn't help but be startled, and looked at Chinyu with a hint of uncertainty. "Boy, you seem to know a lot of things. It seems that you have never been blind in these more than 10 years of lurking." Jiraiya exhaled and said, Minato mentioned to me that your talent in learning ninjutsu is beyond comparison. World. Just now I saw you used your psychic technique for the first time to summon Gamabunta and the other three. I realized that I don't want to be your enemy. I hope you won't pose a threat to Konoha in the future, otherwise I will feel very uncomfortable. Trouble. You ninja village, I'm going back for a visit. I've often heard about the deeds of those three little guys, and I don't know what's going on now. Jiraiya dusted himself off, said that, and turned around to leave. After watching a figure leave, Chinyu cast his gaze on the woods on the left. When the three big toads were summoned just now, Chinyu noticed that someone was coming and was still monitoring them. Although the distance was 600 to 700 meters, Chinyu could not escape his perception. As for who it is, you can figure it out even with your toes. I really don't know what Danzo will do next. This boring life really needs some guys who are not afraid of death to spice it up, otherwise it will be too boring. Chinyu stretched with a smile and said there was no rush to leave, and he started drinking alone. On the other hand, the Roots, Danzo stood on the roof, squinting his eyes slightly against the wind. Behind him stood a slender man with a pale face. That slightly pursed smile made people feel inexplicably awe-inspiring. Danzo-sama, it's an emergency. Shinichi, a ninja from the Roots, appeared next to Danzo and couldn't help but look at the pale man. After recognizing his identity, his expression changed instantly. Don't be surprised. Next, he is our ally. If you have anything to say, just tell him. Danzo said calmly, leaning on his cane. This time, he didn't expect that the person he was looking for happened to sneak into the Konoha ninja village. It also saved Danzo a lot of effort. Yes. The ninja at the root responded and said, according to the intelligence report, after Uchiha Chinyu and Jiraiya left the village together, 3 large toads were channeled at the same time. As for who is channeling, we just arrived and didn't have time to see clearly. Apart from Jiraiya, I don't believe there is anyone else who can summon 3 toads at the same time. A feminine voice suddenly sounded. The scarlet tongue was as long and slender as a snake, which was shocking to see. I didn't expect that Jiraiya's strength would increase a lot after I left Konoha. Facing the man in front of him who was as terrifying as a snake, the ninja at his core couldn't help but take a step back and opened a safe distance that he thought was enough. Faced with Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas who was expelled from the village because of his quirks and human experimentation, that was a more terrifying existence than the other Sannin. However, the ninja at the root was in awe. But he still said bravely, no, we finally speculate that these 3 toads were summoned by Uchiha Chinyu. There was also a gambling war between them. It's just that this gambling battle was solved by Uchiha Chinyu with a look. Having said this, the ninja at the root showed a trace of surprise and uncertainty on his face. Danzo and Orochimaru's expressions also changed. In their eyes, only Jiraiya could summon 3 major psychic beasts at the same time. However, now they are told that the person who did such a thing turned out to be Uchiha Chinyu. This gap is a bit too big. As the root ninja narrated, Danzo and Orochimaru's faces became more solemn. However, the pupils are more fiery and urgent. You mean, Uchiha Chinyu pulled the 3 giant toads into the illusion with one look? Orochimaru continued to reiterate. After seeing the root ninja nodding affirmatively, there was a hint of heat on his face. According to legend, the kaleidoscope possessed only by Madara Uchiha actually appeared in the body of a 14-year-old or 15-year-old kid. No wonder he is so arrogant. Orochimaru smiled ferociously and said, Danzo, I didn't expect you to contact me this time. It's such a great thing. It would be great if I could take this skin as my own. Under Orochimaru's technique of immortal reincarnation, a good body is a fatal temptation for him. Moreover, only Uchiha Madara, who is said to be on par with the first Hokage, possesses the Mangekyo Sharingan. For Orochimaru, who loves human experiments, this is the best experimental product. Orochimaru, have you forgotten the premise of our cooperation? Danzo snorted coldly. He helped Orochimaru when he defected. At the same time, they were colluding with each other in private, including his right arm and right eye. Although, he doesn't have Shirsui's Mangekyo now, but during this period, he also secretly collected a lot of Sharingan. what Danzo has to do is to seize the would escape cells of the first Hokage, who is known as the strongest in the ninja world, and the Sharingan of Uchiha Madara. Only by obtaining these two most powerful foundations, Danzo believes that one day, he will definitely be able to defeat Sarutobi Hiruzen. Chapter 53 The Psychologically Twisted Kakashi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The early morning sunshine, like broken gold, enveloped the entire Konoha village. In front of the sealed gate, Chinyu yawned and stretched. The Battle of Konokuin Bridge can be said to determine the direction of the entire Naruto plot. Whether it was to agree to Jiraiya, or to solve his own chakra deficiency, he needed to find the whereabouts of the three tails. In addition to making up for the missing weaknesses, Chinyu must make a trip in person. Hello. A pretty female voice suddenly sounded. Chinyu followed the voice and looked, and it was Lin who caught his eye. Lin, who was 14 or 15 years old, was unique in Konoha's beauty. Moreover, he has a gentle and kind personality, and he will be the crush of the big boss Obito in the future. Are you here to participate in the mission? Lin couldn't help but ask. In her mission scroll, this time heading to Konokuin Bridge, it was just her, Kakashi and Obito. It would be appropriate for their teacher, Konoha Golden Flash Namikaze Minato, to lead the team. Now, a person suddenly appeared at the meeting point, and Lin couldn't help but ask. You should be considered a temporary recruit and join the team. Chinyu said with a faint smile. La Zhuangding. Lin couldn't help but be startled, then smiled and said, Don't worry, we will be safe with Minato-sensei and Kakashi here. Let me tell you a secret. Today Kakashi has become a Jonin. This is a symbol of strength. While Lin was talking, she didn't forget to look at Chinyu's body. It turns out that you are a Chunin like me. Is this your first mission? No wonder you came so early. You are too nervous. Don't worry, I am a medical ninja. If anything happens, I'll treat you well. Looking at Lin with an enthusiastic face, Chinyu couldn't help but roll his eyes. This step on the horse is silly and sweet. No wonder so many people like it. As soon as they met, they became familiar with each other, and they even opened and closed their mouths to curse and curse for injuries. If they were not in a good mood, they would probably just slap him in the face. By the way, when did you graduate? Kakashi is amazing. Lin continued to think about herself. Chinyu looked helplessly into the grass beside him and said, Kakashi, come out when you come. If it's 1 o'clock in the evening, my ears will be calloused. Kakashi. Lin couldn't help but be startled for a moment, and soon she saw a black shadow flash out of the bushes nearby, heading straight towards Chinyu Hunkong. The speed was so fast, just a few dozen meters. It was just a blink of an eye. Before Lin could react, the chakra dagger in Kakashi's hand was instantly unsheathed. It turned into a white light and struck Chinyu head-on. Kakashi, don't want it. Lin exclaimed. However, the next moment, his expression couldn't help but froze. The crackling thunder arc flashed across Chinyu's body, and then disappeared out of thin air. The chakra dagger in Kakashi's hand instantly fell into disuse. As soon as he regained his footing, a hint of danger appeared behind him. A cold blade stopped directly on his neck. Don't move, my knife is very sharp. Chinyu smiled warmly. However, this smile fell on Lin and Kakashi's eyes, making their pupils suddenly shrink. This is so fast. Chinyu, can't you be merciful? I was just a step late and you were rude to my students. Namikaze Minato appeared next to Chinyu like a ghost, using the Flying Thunder God technique. Looking at Namikaze Minato, he and Chinyu looked like they were equals. The confusion on Kakashi and Lin's faces deepened. Minato, you have the nerve to be late. If you had come earlier, I wouldn't have been misunderstood and wouldn't be too lazy to take action. Chinyu took back the thunder knife and stored it in the scroll. Looking at Kakashi and Lin, who looked confused, he touched the tip of his nose and said, Minato, I think you should explain it first. Chinyu didn't take Kakashi's hostility seriously. After your father is dead, it is normal for you to feel a little twisted inside. Moreover, in this boring life that is almost invincible, it is also good to have these little ones who are not afraid of anything to spice up the life. As soon as these words were spoken, Kakashi and Lin couldn't help but look at Namikaze Minato. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not late. A rapid shout came from the distance. then he saw Obito Uchiha, wearing an eye patch, jumping quickly and landing in front of Kakashi. "You are already late," Kakashi said coldly, "but we are not in the mood to pay attention to you now. Teacher Minato, the task completion rate depends on the rules. When we took the task, we clearly marked a 4-person team. Why is there another person of unknown origin now?" Looking at Kakashi in front of him, who has only one brain circuit and dares to fight even Namake's Minato, Chinyu couldn't help but laugh. Only the top brass of Konoha and certain top brass of the Uchiha clan knew that he had defeated the Kyomo ninja and Kiri ninja. For Kakashi and others, this is still a secret. "Are you Uchiha Chinyu?" Obito, as a member of the Uchiha clan, is still the leader of the clan. "I still know a little bit about the brothers of the same clan who have opened the Sharingan. Weren't you sent to guard the Northwest Pass? Why are you here?" Chinyu collected the remaining memories in his mind and found that Chinyu and Obito had a little friendship, so it's not surprising to know that he took the mission. However, now, suddenly, such a big change has occurred, and it is really difficult for Chinyu to explain to Obito. Ahem, Obito must not be rude. Namake's Minato coughed dryly. He also didn't know how to explain it. He couldn't tell them that the Uchiha Chinyu in front of him was a genius who had been dormant for more than 10 years. Not only did he come back from the Northwest Pass, but he also used the Mangekyo Sharingan to remove the air within seconds. "Minato-sensei, did I say something wrong?" Obito couldn't help rubbing his eyes and said, "I just saw an old woman crossing the road, so I did a good deed, so I wasted time. Then there was sand that got into the eyes." Seeing Obito wearing goggles and opening his mouth to dig into the sand, Chinyu couldn't help but roll his eyes. "I should find a cleaner excuse for this. Okay, now the time is just right. It's rare that Kakashi didn't argue with you this time. It's time for us to set off. We'll talk about anything on the way." Minato Namikaze looked at Chinyu, paused and said, "Today there are 3 things to announce. First thing, welcome Elite Jonin Chinyu to join our team. Chapter 54 I don't want this captain anymore. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Elite Jounin. Kakashi and others' expressions froze, especially Lin, who couldn't help but said, "Minato-sensei, isn't the mark on his body a Chunin forehead protector? Why is he an Elite Jounin?" Among the ninja levels, they are divided into Genin, Chunin, Special Jounin, Jounin, and Elite Jounin. Among them, Special Jounin refers to those who have strength beyond Chunin and cannot reach Jounin, but have special personal strengths and comprehensive strength, and can barely reach the Jounin assessment. They are called Special Jounin. For example, in the original work, Moonlight Hay-8, who knows the Konoharyu Mikazuki dance swordsmanship, is good at some kind of illusion, and may be a ninja who is outstanding in a certain field. As for the Elite Jounin, they are the elite among Jounin. He was specially designated as an Elite Jounin by the 3rd Hokage yesterday. There has been no announcement yet, so he didn't have time to replace his forehead protector. Namikaze Minato looked helpless. He's really not good at explaining. If the 3rd Hokage hadn't issued a hush-hush order, Chinyu's affairs would never have been revealed casually. Namikaze Minato was really willing to say everything at once. Promoted by the 3rd Hokage personally. Uchiha Obito couldn't calm down. "Chinyu, are you opening the double Magatama Sharingan, or are you opening the triple Magatama like the clan leader?" "Kakashi, take a look, this is the genius of our Uchiha clan, much stronger than your Chunin." Uchiha Obito, who looked like a stinker, still didn't forget to use his power to show off his power. Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, "Kakashi was promoted to Jounin today." The small voice made Uchiha Obito confused. He had always regarded Kakashi as a competitor, and thought that after opening the Sharingan, he could surpass Kakashi in one leap. However, now he is told that the Sharingan has not yet been opened and Kakashi has become a Jounin. However, this was originally great news, but it seemed a little inferior when faced with Chinyu's title of Elite Jounin. "Obito, you won't forget it, will you?" Lin quickly said to lighten the atmosphere. "We are just talking to prepare a gift for Kakashi. This is my gift. Although it is a little ugly, it is useful at critical moments." Namikaze Minato took out the flying thunder god kunai first. Lin on the side quickly took out her special medical kit and said, Kakashi, I made this myself. I hope you can put it to use. Listening to these special blessings, Chinyu really wanted to pinch Lin's nose hard. However, before Chinyu could get angry, Minato Namikaze had already blinked at him. Chinyu, as a senior, shouldn't you express your gratitude? Kakashi couldn't help but be startled, and after taking the flying thunder god kunai and the medical kit, he said, Minato-sensei, I don't need his things. Looking at the somewhat stubborn Kakashi, Namikaze Minato couldn't help but feel a headache. Kakashi, this is a rare opportunity. If I didn't have some friendship with Chinyu, I'm afraid no one would be able to benefit from him. Benefits? Kakashi frowned and said, Minato-sensei, are his things better than the flying thunder god kunai? If there really is, I just want to open my eyes and won't want it. In Kakashi's eyes, Chinyu is similar to him in age. In what was supposed to be the most festive day, not only was he subdued by Chinyu with one move, he was also overwhelmed by the power of his elite jounin. To make him happy now is even harder than reaching the sky. Well, since you have made up your mind, I beg Chinyu to open your eyes. Namikaze Minato looked at Chinyu helplessly. Minato, can't you be more mature? Chinyu was helpless. However, a seal scroll fell into his hand. Boom! Under the white mist, the ferocious shark muscle and thunder knife fell into Chinyu's hands. The first move was the same shark and thunder sword of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Chinyu, you are really generous. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but brighten his eyes and said, why don't you, sir, remember the villain's fault and give it to Kakashi? Make up for a gift. No way. Chinyu put the shark's muscle and the thunder knife into the scroll again with his backhand. I'll keep it for my collection. Seeing the duck that reached his mouth fly away, Namikaze Minato was helpless, with a trace of regret on his face. However, compared to him, Kakashi and others couldn't hold their breath. The reputation of the 7 ninja swordsmen is also well known in the ninja world. The 7 ninja swords are their lifeblood. It has always been said that people are always there for the swords. However, now one of the 7 swords, Shark Muscle and Thunder Sword, fell into Chinyu's hands, which meant that 2 of the 7 ninja swordsmen died. Moreover, he still fell into the hands of the young man in front of him. Teacher. Uchiha Obito was the first to lose his temper. Before he finished speaking, he saw Minato Namikaze nodding with a wry smile. Kakashi, you are out of luck this time. I originally planned to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. However, your guess is correct. One of the reasons why Chinyu became an elite jounin was because he killed 2 of the 7 mist ninjas. Having said this, Namikaze Minato looked at Chinyu and said, this time, due to the critical situation at Konakuen Bridge, we will be divided into 2 teams to carry out the mission. I am an independent person, and the 3 of you are led by Chinyu. What? Uchiha Obito and others were stunned. Kakashi couldn't hold himself back and said, Minato-sensei, what matters when forming a team is cooperation. Chinyu may be very strong, but it might be a bit inappropriate to force him to form a team with us. Looking at Kakashi, who usually responded to Uchiha Obito, and after saying these words, Namikaze Minato knew that Kakashi didn't want to stay with Chinyu at all. He sighed helplessly and said, Kakashi, this is an order from the 3rd Hokage, and it is an emergency deployment during wartime. Order. Kakashi was stunned for a moment, then said expressionlessly, since it is the 3rd Hokage's order, I will definitely obey it, but I want to remind you that no matter who you are, you must not break the rules, otherwise you will be despised. Looking at Kakashi who looked like a dead father, Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, don't worry, I never follow the rules, and the orders of the 3rd Hokage are no exception. I don't want this captain anymore. For the next action, you will work in groups of 3, with Kakashi as the leader. I will act alone. Are you alone? Uchiha Obito was confused and said anxiously, Chinyu, this is the order of the 3rd Hokage. If you disrupt the rules without authorization, I'm afraid you will be spurned by others when you return to the village. Spit. Chinyu waved his hands with a faint smile and said, so what, why should I look at their faces? Don't say you're despised, even if the sky falls, I won't take it seriously. Minato, it's getting late, let's go. Facing these little brats, I'm getting a headache. You've done a great job as a hands-off boss. How about we switch, you lead the team yourself, and I'll kill the people. Chapter 55 You will die if you rush out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at Chinyu who didn't care at all, Kakashi and others were confused and couldn't reply. Namake's Minato was helpless, looking around at all the Konoha ninjas. I am afraid that only Chinyu had the courage to say such a thing. After all, not long ago, another legend in Konoha, Hatake Tsukumo, died because he violated the rules and was accused of being unhappy. Lord Orochimaru, they have already set off. Shanfeng flashed out of the darkness. Really, it's really exciting. Orochimaru, who had changed his skin, walked out of Konoha village. After gently licking his dry lips with his scarlet tongue, he said, I thought it would take a lot of effort to get Minato Namake's away, but now it seems that God is helping me. You are always following him. I will follow him soon. The Manjikyu Sharingan is destined to be mine. After leaving these words, Orochimaru disappeared into thin air. After Shanfeng and the belated Aburame Togen looked at each other, he said, let's take action too. Don't forget to leak the information to IWA Ninja. If we can kill Chinyu with the help of IWA Ninja, then it couldn't be better. Danzo-sama said that Orochimaru is a double-edged sword. If it is not used properly, it may hurt us. Aburame took the root and nodded, saying, it's all for the root, let's go. After more than half a day, Chinyu and his party finally arrived at the outskirts of the target. Okay, let's rest here first and explain the current situation clearly. Namake's Minato took out a roll of terrain maps. This time, our opponent is IWA Ninja. We are separated from the IWA Ninja village by a grass ninja village. Originally, the existence of the grass ninja village was a buffer for us in Konoha from the IWA Ninja village. Once the IWA Ninja village attacks, the grass ninja village will also rise. The resistance will work, giving us time for Konoha to provide defense. However, this time, when we discovered it, a large force of thousands of people from the IWA Ninja village had already crossed the defense line of the grass ninja village and was only 3 kilometers away from our Konoha defense line. What? The expressions of Kakashi and others couldn't help but change. The biggest reason why Kusanagi village was able to survive in the cracks between the two major powers was the acquiescence of the two major powers. After all, if the borders of the two countries are connected, I am afraid that there will be no peace of mind at night. In order to ease the relationship between the IWA Ninja village and Konoha, the grass ninja village became a necessary existence. However, now that the IWA Ninja has unknowingly passed through the defense line of the grass ninja village, there are only two results. First, the grass ninja didn't even resist, and was instantly destroyed by the rock ninja. Second, the grass ninja turned against the rock ninja and voluntarily gave up resistance. Of these two choices, in Chinyu's eyes, he is undoubtedly the second. After all, the most basic thing for a small country to act as a buffer is to have balanced combat power. Now in Konoha Ninja Village, 3 battlefields are open at the same time, and the Cloud Ninja Village is looking at them from behind. Anyone who is not a fool will think that Konoha Ninja Village will definitely lose in this situation. Compared with the thousands of troops in the IWA Ninja Village, the dozens of people in Konoha undoubtedly seemed very shabby. Opening the door wide for future victors is the way for small countries to survive. I think you all understand the current situation. Since Chinyu doesn't want to be the captain, then leave it to Kakashi. Namake's Minato glanced at Chinyu and said helplessly. Teacher's only hope is that after this war is over, I can still see you standing in front of me. If there's nothing else important, let's go. Kakashi and Uchiha Obito entered a battlefield of this level for the first time, but now, there is no choice but to bite the bullet and set off. The four of them jumped into the woods in a flash. Chinyu stretched out, glanced at the jungle behind him, and smiled playfully. I really hope I can catch a big fish this time, but I'm almost bored to death when small shrimps come out all the time. After saying these words, Chinyu followed him without stopping. Kakashi rushed out a few hundred meters away. When he saw Chinyu arriving late, he couldn't help but frown and said, "Follow the team, I'm the captain now." Looking at Kakashi with a proud face, Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, "Your captain is still given to you by me. Don't forget, I don't care about the rules." You. Kakashi was furious. Namake's Minato looked at this scene and couldn't help but feel a headache. He really regretted letting Chinyu and Kakashi team up, even he couldn't get Chinyu to cooperate well, let alone Kakashi. "Stop!" Kakashi suddenly stopped and raised his hands to signal. Namake's Minato nodded with satisfaction and looked at the big tree in the distance. In his perception, there is an enemy hidden here. "Kakashi, let's discuss tactics first. The opponent has a lot of people." Namake's Minato suggested. Kakashi glanced at Chinyu and said, "Teacher, we don't need it anymore. We are in a hurry now. If we continue to discuss it, we may let the enemy escape. I happen to develop a new technique, which has the same name as the teacher." As soon as he finished speaking, Kakashi's hands flew up quickly. As the last magic seal fell, crackling arcs of electricity condensed instantly. Chidori. Being able to develop A-level ninjutsu at the age of more than 10 years old, he is definitely a leader among his peers. Feeling this huge and raging power, Obito and Lin's expressions changed. "Kakashi, the number of enemies is unknown. This ninjutsu is very strong, but you will endure many unknown changes." Namake's Minato reminded in a deep voice. "Chinyu, please help me with this." Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, "Minato, you really like to throw dirty water on me. I can honestly tell you that this Chidori is very fast, but your experience and neural reaction speed cannot be balanced at all. If you go out now, you will only die." Listening to this merciless blow, Namake's Minato smiled bitterly and regretted letting Chinyu interrupt. "Humph, this is the ninjutsu I developed. I know it best." Kakashi snorted coldly and said, "What are the disadvantages?" "I don't need your random comments. Minato-sensei, if you cover me, I can kill them all in just a moment." Looking at Kakashi who had made up his mind, Minato Namake's nodded helplessly. Boom. Kakashi's right hand suddenly stuck into the ground, and the violent arc shattered the ground. The next moment, the whole person shot out like a cannonball. With the activated cells of Lei done, the speed of his attack was obviously getting faster and faster. "Chinyu, just watch, this is my strength." The words were mingled with thunder. Seeing Kakashi rushing out so arrogantly, even the IWA ninja who was hiding behind the big tree was surprised. "You bastard, you look down on me like this and dare to attack me head-on." The IWA ninja showed a ferocious expression, and quickly threw out a large shuriken with his backhand. However, as soon as these shurikens approached Kakashi, they were knocked away by Namake's Minato with his shurikens. Chapter 56 Flower Style Chidori. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 1:10:15, your attack exposed your whereabouts. Kakashi's figure passed quickly. 15 shadow clones were torn apart in an instant. His eyes suddenly turned and locked behind the big tree. The sight like a thunderous blow shocked Lin and Uchiha Obito. This is completely beyond their knowledge. "Someone is coming." Chinyu suddenly spoke, tensing all his nerves. Uchiha Obito's expression suddenly changed, and soon he saw a figure emerging from the ground. For that the IWA ninja's expression was stagnant, and he had not yet seen all the faces clearly. A kunai burst through the air and struck. Phew. The IWA ninja turned into white mist in response and dispersed between heaven and earth. Namake's Minato's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted urgently, "Chinyu, they are left to you." As soon as he finished speaking, Namake's Minato disappeared like a ghost. The next moment, he appeared again, already in front of Kakashi. The bright sharp blade quickly enlarged in Kakashi's pupils. Under this extremely fast impact, he had no way to dodge. Phew. As soon as Namake's Minato appeared, he immediately pressed against Kakashi's chest, directly blocking his extreme speed. However, the bright sharp blade also scratched Kakashi's shoulder, and the blood spattered, which looked shocking. The next moment, Namake's Minato disappeared into thin air with Kakashi like a ghost. Kakashi, are you okay? Lin's face turned pale. As soon as she took half a step, she saw Chinyu stretching and standing up. It's my turn. As soon as he finished speaking, crackling thunder arcs filled the air, and Chinyu disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Disappeared. The IWA ninja missed his attack, and the memories of his clones flooded into his mind. The next moment his expression suddenly changed. In the memory of retaliation, he saw two chilling faces. Golden flashes and bloody Asuras. However, compared with the golden flash, the bloody Asura, who has recently become famous in the ninja world, is even more frightening. After dormant for more than 10 years, he killed nearly 200 ninjas in 2 battles. This kind of achievement can definitely be called brilliant when looking at the third ninja war, escape. A thought flashed through IWA Ninja's mind, and the moment he turned around quickly, the face he saw made his pupils shrink. Chidori. Chinyu's right hand was entangled with lightning, and without any fancy, he cut directly to the IWA Ninja's neck. Phew. The huge head was thrown away directly, and the large tree with a diameter of half a meter was cut off in the middle by the lightning. Under the big tree that collapsed with a roar, Chinyu's figure was clearly visible. He caught the head that fell in mid-air and disappeared into thin air again. Disappeared again. This lightning escape technique is simply too fast, not much different from Minato-sensei. Uchiha Obito couldn't hold back his anger. Are you looking for him? Chinyu's voice suddenly sounded. The head with round eyes was thrown away by Chinyu, and blood splashed down, staining the grass red. At the same time, an inexplicable fishy stench filled the air. Looking at the horror on this IWA ninja's face, he might have seen something extremely terrifying at the moment of death. Did you use Chidori just now? Kakashi suddenly spoke. Uchiha Obito and Lin couldn't help but be startled. Only Minato Namikaze smiled bitterly from the side. In the eyes of outsiders, the Chidori developed by Kakashi seems to be able to reach a level in difficulty. However, Chinyu can even learn S-level ninjutsu instantly. Moreover, Jiraiya learned that Chinyu summoned the 3 powerful forces of Nyamu Mountain for the first time using his psychic technique. It can be said that the mere Chidori is really not difficult at all for Chinyu. Good eyesight. Chinyu smiled warmly. There was a crackling sound from his right hand, and at the same time, violent lightning flashed rapidly. The lightning was raging, giving people the feeling of tearing everything around them into pieces. Chidori. Seeing this scene in front of him, even Uchiha Obito, who was at the end of the crane, knew that this was Kakashi, who was so stinky just now. He was talking about it. It is said to be the latest developed A-level ninjutsu. The next moment, the electric arc wrapped around his hand stagnated for a moment, and then quickly spread throughout his body. For a moment, Chinyu felt as if he was bathed in thunder. This is Chidori Ryu. This is the Hound Gun. This is the Chidori sword technique. Seeing Chinyu demonstrating, Namikaze Minato's cheek stiffened and twitched without rhythm. That's enough. Kakashi finally lost his temper. A moment ago, he was full of arrogance and boasted about the Chidori. He also talked about speed as the teacher's name. Now, watching Chinyu's fancy changes, the Chidori style, this invisible slap made a snapping sound. Kakashi, don't worry, Chinyu just means well. Namikaze Minato said with a bitter smile. Chinyu patted Minato on the shoulder and said, sorry, I did it on purpose. As a ninja, if you don't understand caution at all, you will put your teammates to death. Now, do you still want to be the captain? The expressions of everyone present could not help but froze. Lin quickly said, Chinyu, if Kakashi didn't mean it, he would have succeeded. Lin is right. Kakashi made a mistake this time, but you should not deprive Kakashi of his position as captain. What's more, I also made a mistake just now. Uchiha Obito echoed hastily. Seeing this rare scene, Chinyu and Namikaze Minato also felt surprised. On weekdays, Kakashi and Uchiha Obito are incompatible with each other. The minority obeys the majority. I am always fair. If you help Kakashi plead for mercy, then forget it this time. Chinyu said nonchalantly. In his eyes, the position of captain is completely useless and dispensable. After all, he would not accept any orders. Noara Rin and Uchiha Obito secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Kakashi, you are injured. Can you let me treat you? Lin looked at Kakashi's wound that almost hurt his muscles and bones. With a look of urgency on his face, Kakashi reacted in his daze, looking past everyone and locking on Chinyu. I don't want this captain anymore, but I will soon surpass you and master the more powerful Chidori. When the time comes, I hope you can give up the captain position to me. Listening to these determined words, Chinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly. I was thinking about whether to tell him the truth. I also have a Thunder Escape unicorn that can reach heaven, earth, and air every second. Chapter 57 This is a game. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at Kakashi with a determined look on his face, Namake's Minato felt helpless. I just hope that Chinyu will stop irritating Kakashi's weak mind. Okay, Lin, you are going to treat Kakashi now, and then we have to go our separate ways. Namake's Minato said. Originally, I was quite worried about you, but with Chinyu here, I believe it won't be anything serious. After saying these words, Namake's Minato picked up his backpack and disappeared like a ghost. Call. Uchiha Obito breathed a sigh of relief, sat down next to Chinyu, and said a little nervously, Chinyu, I didn't expect you to hide it so deeply. Sharingan, powerful thunder escape, no wonder he can become an elite jounin with this strength, he is indeed better than some people. Speaking of this, Uchiha Obito couldn't help but look at Kakashi. His intention was obviously to use Chinyu to fake the power of the tiger. I don't know who it was just now. I was stunned when the enemy attacked me. Who always keeps protecting Lin? Kakashi was obviously angry and vented his anger on Uchiha Obito. You. Uchiha Obito became angry and said anxiously, I just had sand in my eyes. It was Chinyu who stole my limelight. Seeing the two people at war with each other, Chinyu was helpless. Children really don't need a reason for talking nonsense. Lin, has Kakashi's wound stopped bleeding? Chinyu looked at Kakashi's wound. Lin is the medical ninja of this team, however, medical ninjutsu is obviously just an introduction. To learn medical ninjutsu, the prerequisite is to have precise chakra control ability. This threshold alone is the cream of the crop. Lin can reach this point, which is already considered very good. Kakashi's wound is a bit deep and it will take some time. Lin wiped the hot sweat from her forehead. Kakashi frowned slightly and said, Lin, if you're tired, take a rest first. Don't worry about the injury for now. I'm fine. As he spoke, Kakashi took out the bandage. However, as soon as he moved, he saw Chinyu's hand pressing on his shoulder. Let me do it. I'm just a drag on you. If you get hurt, I'll have to take care of you. Chinyu turned the chakra on his right hand. The magic of Palm Immortal was activated instantly, feeling the sting on his shoulder fade away quickly, and the wound healing even more quickly, not to mention Kakashi and Obito Uchiha. Even Lin, who was a medical ninja, couldn't help but be confused. Chinyu, are you also a medical ninja? Lin couldn't hold back her anger. As a medical ninja, she is well aware of the difficulty involved. Now Chinyu can heal wounds quickly, which requires at least reaching the level of an advanced medical ninja. Let's count it as half. Seeing that the wound on Kakashi's shoulder healed, Chinyu dispersed the chakra in his hand and said, Next, we are going to catch big fish. 30 minutes later, Chinyu and his party entered the bamboo forest. Feeling the silence around him, Kakashi suddenly reached out and stopped everyone. Earth release, earth thrust. A series of earth thorns spurt out from under the feet, and the dense posture can easily pierce a person into a hornet's nest. Spread. Chinyu pursed his lips slightly. All this was not much different from the original work. This gave Chinyu as if he had the ability to predict the future. The four people moved instantly and quickly dispersed around. However, everyone's eyes fell on Noara Lin. Intentionally or unintentionally, Noara Lin landed on the water and just stood firm. The water surface behind him immediately stirred up ripples. The IWA ninja, who used the camouflage invisibility technique, appeared like a ghost and immediately captured Noara Lin. Three stupid young men can't even protect a woman. Don't worry, we will treat her well. After Dashi dropped these words, he quickly retreated. Huaguang, who secretly used Earth Escape cover, was no exception. For a moment, the huge bamboo forest fell into deathly silence. There really is an ambush. What Chinyu said is right. If the IWA ninja doesn't go back, the other party will definitely try to move out. At the same time, when they see that we are too young, they can't help but take action. Noera Lin said in the dark flash out. I don't know how they would feel if they knew that it was Chinyu's shadow clone that was captured. Having said this, even Kakashi looked at Chinyu with a hint of silence. Kakashi considers himself a genius in Konoha and has a good mind. If he asks himself about the younger generation, 9 out of 10 people can see through it. However, facing Chinyu in front of him, Kakashi felt like he couldn't figure it out. Chinyu is really good at predicting things, so what should we do now? Chase him immediately. Uchiha Obito looked slightly excited. As long as he could see Kakashi deflated, that was enough. No, we will capture the king first before we capture the thieves, and we will catch them all. Chinyu smiled playfully. On the other hand, Firelight and boulders, carrying Chinyu's clone, landed in a rock cave not far away. This girl is really quiet. She seems to know that those 3 guys can't be saved from us. Dashi said with a joking smile. Now, what we have to do is to use illusions on her and gather information as soon as possible. As long as we can find out the number and layout of Konoha, we will be the heroes of this battle. Huoguang placed Chinyu's clone in front of the wall, and at the same time signaled Dashi to cast an illusion. As the double surgical seals quickly flew down and fell, Dashi shouted coldly. Illusioned hypnosis. A mental wave spread across Dashi's body. Soon he saw the quiet Chinyu, and his expression instantly became dull. When Dashi and Huoguang saw this, they couldn't help but be startled. This hypnosis was so smooth. Dashi, it seems we are lucky. We should be able to dig out the information before the large forces arrive. Huoguang's face showed a hint of excitement. As he spoke, he walked towards Chinyu. At the same time, he reached out his right hand and gently lifted Chinyu's chin. The next moment, the smile that caught his eye made him look stiff. What's wrong? Am I acting like one? A small sound swept through like a hurricane at this moment. The expressions of Dashi and Huoguang changed drastically in an instant. Who are you? Face this girl in front of you. No. It should be said that when this male voice came out, they instantly understood that this was a game. You will know when you go out and take a look. Chinyu smiled jokingly. The next moment, his body made a bang and turned into white mist that filled the sky, dissipating between heaven and earth. The violent scene made Dashi and Huoguang nervous to the extreme. Without any time to think, he quickly pulled away and ran out quickly. However, as soon as the 2 of them stepped into the cave entrance, they felt the blazing fire coming towards them. Chapter 58 Bloody Asura. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Art Fire Escape Hao Fireball. Thunder Release Chidori. Obito Uchiha's hands flew quickly, and the hot chakra gathered in his mouth, and he spit it out directly. The fireball with a diameter of 5 to 6 meters hit the hole head-on in a rolling manner. Earth Release Earth-Splitting Technique. Huoguang's expression suddenly changed. However, as the Jonin of IWA Ninja Village, their strength cannot be underestimated. What's more, his rich combat experience is beyond the reach of ordinary people. His hands flew up and formed a series of magic seals, and then he slapped the ground with his backhand. Boom! The solid rock formation ground cracked, and immediately the rock formation rose up, forming an earth wall that directly collided with the fireball. The fireball was smashed into pieces, and the blazing fire light splashed down, forming a rain of fire. Seeing that the incoming attack was blocked, the fire and boulders dispersed and fled in an instant. However, compared with Dashi, who has the art of camouflage invisibility, the way the fire escapes is obviously a bit lacking. As soon as he jumped out of the cave, he saw the lightning rapidly enlarging in his pupils. Kakashi used the Chidori surprise attack stance to attack him head-on. Kid, you're looking for death. Huoguang's face changed drastically and he roared urgently. The ninja sword hidden in his sleeve struck Kakashi head-on. The method of this attack was undoubtedly aimed at risking one's life. In the eyes of the fire, facing this kind of life-and-death battle, the kid in front of him looked different, but compared with experienced ninjas like them, this kind of life-threatening battle can't compare with their psychological quality. However, as soon as this idea came to his mind, the next thing he saw were 2 black shadows rushing towards him. Thunder release, Chidori Ryu Shuriken, that the two shurikens were entangled with violent lightning arcs, instantly piercing the sky, and hit the ninja swords in the flaming hands first, dang. The crisp sound of metal collision suddenly sounded, and the huge impact caused the ninja sword in Huoguang's hand to fly up. Seeing this violent scene and Huoguang's expression changing dramatically, Kakashi's eyes couldn't help but light up. The close distance and the extreme speed brought by Chidori's activated cells made Kakashi appear in front of the fire in an instant. Chidori. Without any hint of fancy, the right hand wrapped with lightning pierced directly through Huoguang's chest like lightning. Phew. The blood splattered, giving people a shocking feeling. Under the blood-filled sky, there was an even more horrifying smell. Watching Chidori's first kill, a rare smile appeared on Kakashi's face. Yes, it's you. That the intermittent sound of fire suddenly sounded. Looking at Chinyu who was helping him not far away, his expression became a little more crazy. Dashi, run away quickly. Go back and tell Master Huangta that the bloody Asura is coming, and tell them to run away quickly. Hysterical roars echoed throughout the world. Dashi, who had used his secret technique to become invisible, originally planned to let the firelight attract everyone's attention. Then, he waited for an opportunity to kill Chinyu and others. But now that he heard this name, he turned around and ran away without any hesitation. Bloody Asura. That was a battle narrated by the next Raikage from the Cloud Ninja Village. Bloody Asura combines powerful offensive ninjutsu, defensive ninjutsu, and illusions into one. Anyone below the shadow level must run away if they encounter him. From the beginning, many ninja villages did not believe this information, but after learning that the Mist Ninja Village was also interested in the passes behind Konoha, he went on a sneak attack alone. After paying for two monsters who walked out of the blood mist and were known as the Seven Ninja Swordsmen, the evil reputation of the Bloody Asura has been firmly established in the ninja world. What happened? Uchiha Obito originally planned to protect Noara Lin. However, the sudden scene shook their nerves. What were you talking about just now? Who is the Bloody Asura? Kakashi's expression also changed. He grabbed Huoguang's collar and asked urgently. However, before he could get the result, a sound broke through the air from behind. Kakashi, be careful. Noara Lin shouted urgently. Uchiha Obito also rushed out in a hurry. It's a pity that all this seems pale and feeble when faced with the big stone that hides the figure. Looking at Kakashi, who didn't even know where his enemy was, a playful smile appeared on Oishi's face. This is his tried and tested secret technique, which is completely comparable to the silent killing technique of the Mist Ninja. In his eyes, it was simply impossible to continue to defend now that Kakashi's attack power had just dissipated. The only thing she could do was to become a hostage in his hands. I see you. The small voice swept away like a hurricane at this moment. Dashi's nerves suddenly became extremely tense. He hurriedly looked behind him, and saw a figure wrapped in lightning, like a ghost, appearing behind him first. When the four eyes met, the scarlet eyes were as red as the blood moon, making people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. This is the Sharingan. Dashi looked stiff. He finally understood why the other party saw him. However, at such a close distance, everything pales in comparison. Chinyu's backhand, under the flow of lightning, the thousand birds bloomed in an instant, turning into a beam of lightning, which penetrated Dashi's chest first. Phew. Blood splattered and turned into a huge blood mist. Oishi Yuan stared, his face full of disbelief. When they went to the battlefield, they also thought about the consequences of death, but I never thought that I would eventually fall into the hands of a kid who was only 13 or 14 years old. Boom! The corpse fell heavily to the ground, and blood spattered down, which looked shocking. Chinyu wiped off the blood on Dashi's body and said, "Okay, we will form a team of 3 in the IWA Ninja Village. Now that all 3 of them have been killed by us, the other party should have contacted the main force. It will be a tough battle next." Uchiha Obito and the other 3 looked stiff. They were considered victorious just now, but except for Kakashi who killed an enemy, Noara Lin only used medical ninjutsu slightly. Uchiha Obito also used a fire escape. If the other party really comes with a large force, then what awaits them may be a dead end. Chinyu, it's going to rain today. Do we need to retreat temporarily? Kakashi hesitated and said, compared with Uchiha Obito and Noara Rin, what he cares about most now is the firelight and the bloody Asura in Dashi's mouth, to be able to make even a Jounin feel frightened. He was definitely on the same level as Namikaze Minato. Most importantly, there were only 6 people present, except for the 2 dead IWA Nin. Kakashi and Uchiha Obito are incompatible. Of course Kakashi knows how much he weighs. As for Noera Rin, except for being good at medical ninjutsu, her combat skills and ninjutsu are not as good as those of elite Chunin, let alone 2 rock ninjas who are frightened by the news. After elimination, only Uchiha Chinyu is left. This man, who had been a salt fish for more than 10 years, suddenly appeared and became more than just an elite Jounin. Even Namikaze Minato, the golden shining man who was hailed as the most likely to become the next Hokage, was in awe. It gives people the feeling that they are completely like peers. This made Kakashi think that the bloody Asura, who frightened the IWA ninja, was absolutely inseparable from Chinyu. Chapter 59, Explosive Escape Ninja Hunt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chinyu, I want to know if you are the bloody Asura they call you. Kakashi was the first to lose his temper. Uchiha Obito and Noera Rin couldn't help but be startled and looked at Chinyu. The exclamation just now also made them suspicious. At the same time, he was also eager to know whether Chinyu was the bloody Asura that made the 2 rock ninjas fearful. Can I say no? Chinyu was helpless. Now that I think about it, I really want to beat you AI to death. Don't choose any name, choose a bloody Asura who is worthless. Most important, the speed of this spread is too fast. In just 7 or 8 days, the news spread throughout the ninja world, making Chinyu wonder if there were paparazzi around him. Kakashi and others couldn't help but be startled, facing Chinyu's vague answer. I really felt confused. However, before they could ask again, a series of piercing sounds struck from all directions. Be careful, it's an enemy attack. Kakashi shouted urgently and took the lead in drawing out the short chakra knife from his back. Under the infusion of chakra, the dagger emitted a white light, like a flying butterfly. Dang dang dang. The crisp sound of metal collision echoed between heaven and earth, and sparks even flew out. The violent scene made Uchiha Obito confused again. However, this time in panic, Uchiha Obito was obviously determined to protect Noera Rin. The figure swayed and appeared in front of Noera Rin. His hands flew quickly, followed by a series of magic seals. The blazing fireball spit out and directly deflected the oncoming kunai. As for Chinyu, he was the most relaxed among the 4. Under the raging lightning arcs on his body, the kunai that was slightly close to his body were directly blown away by the lightning arcs. The first wave of attacks passed quickly. When Kakashi and others stood firm, the entire basin was filled with dense figures in all directions. 10, 50, 100, 200, 300. Uchiha Obito looked at the densely packed figures around him and his face turned pale. This number is at least almost 100 times their number. Kakashi, this can't be the backup force of the entire IWA ninja. There are so many people. Uchiha Obito couldn't help but move in the direction of Kakashi. Noera Rin on the side was no exception. Faced with such a menacing and large number of people, the existence of the 3 of them made everything pale and powerless. I didn't expect the 4 of you to be able to defeat Hwagwang and Dashi's team. It seems that you are indeed the bloody Asura Uchiha Chinyu who has been rumored recently. A ninja wearing a mask jumped down from the tree. As soon as he stood firm, a high-temperature steam rose up from his body. Chinyu frowned and quickly searched for his knowledge of IWA ninja in his mind. During this process, the expressions of Kakashi and the other 3 were stagnant. If they were guessing just now they have got confirmation from the other party's mouth. What's wrong? Judging from your expressions, you don't even recognize the bloody Asura, who has recently become famous on the battlefield. The steam man smiled jokingly. It's no wonder. It's rumored that the new genius of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Chinyu, surpasses his predecessor Uchiha Shisui. In the battle at the Northwest Pass, the thunderbolt killed hundreds of people in an instant. The genjutsu shocked the tailed beasts, the black flames shook people's hearts, and he also killed 2 of the 7 ninja swordsmen. This achievement is so gorgeous and shocking. At this point, the steam man showed disdain and said, "Tell me, is this kind of thing credible? I just don't believe it. This is just you Konoha. In this desperate situation, you have created so-called geniuses and strong men in order to restore the disadvantage on the battlefield. The hysterical words contained a trace of madness. Chinyu finally remembered the origin of the rock ninja in front of him. I thought that the ninja leading the team this time would be Oanoki's cheap son Huang Tuesday. Unexpectedly, a ninja hunter with the blood inheritance limit and explosive escape would come. Explosive escape is a very special type of blood limit. Once the attack touches the enemy, it can cause a big explosion. The power of the explosion is measured by the size of the chakra. According to the description in the original work, this hunter possesses shadow-level strength, otherwise, he would not be targeted by Baliohu. Boy, it seems you have figured out my identity. Sho smiled ferociously. You read that right, I am the explosive escape ninja hunter. I don't care whether you are a bloody Asura or a white Asura. If you don't want to suffer, I hope you can just surrender and capture me. Don't let me waste too much energy. As soon as the words fell, the atmosphere in the venue changed instantly. Hundreds of rock ninjas all locked on Chinyu's body. It's similar to the explosive ninja hunter. In their eyes, Chinyu was just a genius and strong man fabricated by Konoha who had no way out. Chinyu. Kakashi couldn't hold back his anger. They didn't believe what Kari said. However, they were both in Konoha, but they had never heard of Uchiha Chinyu's deeds. At this juncture, it is inevitable to have doubts. There are 365 people in total, half of whom are shadow clones. I wonder if your IWA ninja village likes to pretend to be big-headed ghosts. Chinyu suddenly smiled. Don't you say you're not afraid? It takes so much effort to deal with me and three little brats. A small voice swept over like a hurricane at this moment. The leader hunter's expression couldn't help but froze. This basin covers at least several kilometers of open space. The IWA ninjas took on a surrounding posture and blocked the entire basin. Moreover, when he came, Kari had already issued an order for everyone to create at least one shadow clone. Although it will weaken its own strength, it will also increase the sense of numbers and give people a sense of lineup pressure. However, the current dispersed lineup was seen through by the opponent at a glance. In terms of numbers, as well as strategy, everything was clearly stated. If it were any enemy, there would be absolutely no way to do it. Is it the Sharingan? Shio met Chinyu's eyes. However, he quickly thought of something important, and quickly looked away. His expression darkened, and he said, the blood-colored 9 Magatama Sharingan is completely different from the eyes of the ordinary Uchiha clan. You are really special. Chapter 60. Take care of yourself first. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's a bit special, otherwise how can it be different? Chinyu smiled warmly. His eyes suddenly turned past Kari and landed outside the encirclement. Are you all here? It looks like it's about to start. Start. Sho couldn't help but be startled, and then laughed unbridled. Boy, do you mean to start suffering death? It doesn't matter if you see that half of the people here are shadow clones. We are all elites among the rock ninjas, but we are not comparable to those like you, the famous dog thieves. Having said this, Hunting raised his hand and made a motion of wiping his neck. Boy, just wait to die. Kakashi and others' expressions turned pale. The three of them subconsciously turned their backs, but the corner of their eyes was locked on Uchiha Chinyu. Facing this kind of fatal situation, no one would be confident. Only Uchiha Chinyu could still look normal. The time is almost over. Chinyu suddenly spoke. The expressions of everyone present could not help but froze. The leader, Sho, laughed unscrupulously. Boy, you really know how to joke. What would you do in this situation? Do you think someone can save you? Faced with these words, the figure of Namake's Minato flashed in the minds of Kakashi and others. In their eyes, they didn't understand Chinyu, but the deeds and reputation of Konoha's golden shining Namake's Minato are clear. If you can get his support, it may not be difficult to escape. I'm sorry, it seems I'm too low-key and easily overlooked. Chinyu smiled playfully and raised his hand to point to the sky. Look carefully, who is surrounded? The incomprehensible words made even Kakashi and others unable to remain calm and hurriedly raised their heads to look at the sky. The moment he looked into it, his pupils suddenly shrank, and his eye sockets were almost split open. Boom. The violent thunder suddenly sounded, giving people a deafening feeling. Black clouds pressed down on the city in the sky, forming a huge whirlpool, and lightning arcs swam like electric snakes. In the center of the whirlpool, the illusory unicorn figure was even more shocking. At this moment, everyone present suddenly woke up. What Carrie said just now is definitely not false. The accumulated thunder in the sky exudes a destructive aura. I'm afraid it's the rumored super lightning escape that can kill hundreds of Kyumo ninjas instantly. Boy, are you crazy? If this attack really hits, even you will die. Sho's expression changed drastically. As soon as they arrived, they were attracted by Chinyu's name of Bloody Shura, completely ignoring the changes in the sky. The nerves of Kakashi and others were as tense as strings. The scene before them was beyond their expectations. If it really falls, just as Carrie said, they will surely die. You don't need to worry about our safety. What you have to do is to care about how to survive this attack. Chinyu smiled playfully, flipped his right hand, and the thunder knife was directly channeled. With a flip of his hand, the thunder knife, infused with Chinyu's chakra, pierced directly through the void. Boom. The backlog of thunder in the sky was instantly drawn. Roar. A roar of thunder ripped through the sky and earth like a roaring beast. The next moment, the unicorn lurking in the thunder suddenly broke through the clouds and swooped down. The speed was so fast that it arrived in the blink of an eye, making it impossible to escape. Kakashi and the other three suddenly turned pale. The moment the lightning struck, all that was left in front of him was thunder in the sky. The eardrums also started to roar. His only thought was to close his eyes and wait for death. Boom. Thunder light shot into the sky, splashing out like a frenzied wave all over the sky. The raging posture swept everything within 10,000 meters, whether it's trees or IWA ninjas thinking about escaping on the periphery. Unfortunately, everything pales in comparison to the blow in front of him. The lightning that fell overwhelmingly drowned everyone in an instant. Even the Rocky Mountains were directly shattered by the violent thunder. It was already a minute or two before everything returned to calm. The accumulated lead clouds all over the sky dispersed, and the wandering thunder light disappeared. All that was left was a charred basin and a mess of woodland. The center where Chilan hit sank like a funnel. An illusory huge figure stood among the ruins. In addition to Chinyu, there are also 3 people named Kakashi. Okay, if you're not scared to death, just open your eyes. Chinyu said lightly. Kakashi and others' muscles all twitched involuntarily. The next moment, I realized that there was no pain at all in my body. We are not dead. The attack just now was devastating. Uchiha Obito hurriedly opened his eyes, looking at Susanoo who enveloped them. His expression became stiff, and his eyes almost burst open. This scene was too shocking for him. Did it block the attack for us at the critical moment? Noera Lin's expression turned livid. They looked at Susanoo who was covered in blood. They finally understood why Chinyu was called the Bloody Asura. The power of the lightning escape just now may have reached the Super S level. This Shura was actually unscathed and has a stronger defense. Kakashi looked livid, remembering that not long ago, he was showing off his so-called Chidori in front of Chinyu. This cheek is a bit unbearable. If there was a crack in the ground here, he could not wait to crawl right into it. This is Susanoo, one of the eye techniques of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Chinyu said lightly. However, he quickly frowned, showing an unexpected look. Chinyu, are you saying that if I activate the Sharingan, I will also be able to obtain this method? Uchiha Obito said excitedly with a smile on his face. Kakashi, did you hear that? We, the Uchiha clan, are geniuses. I will catch up with you soon. Kakashi's expression darkened slightly, and he couldn't help but look into Chinyu's eyes. The moment their eyes met, his whole soul seemed to be pulled by an invisible big hand. It seemed that with just one look from Chinyu, his soul would be absorbed. Kakashi, are you okay? Are you frightened by my potential? Uchiha Obito said, patting Kakashi on the shoulder. It was a rare opportunity to find a way to show off one's power, but he didn't want to let it go. Forget it. Kakashi woke up from his daze, glanced at Chinyu, and said, his is not an ordinary Sharingan. If anyone can do it, you Uchiha clan, it won't be the first time that the title of Blood Shura appears. I think it takes very powerful means to reach this point. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to reach it in your lifetime. You. Uchiha Obito suddenly became angry, however, there was no way to refute it. He was not stupid. With Kakashi's words, he clearly understood the key.